Hello, my fellow skeptics out there. This is the Skeptical Skeptic back in with yet another video. This week I wanted to talk about intelligent design. My audience will know about this idea well, of course. Christians will use it when defending the idea that God not only exists, but takes an active interest in his creation. Living beings are simply so complex and well-designed that it could not have possibly been the result of random chance, and must have been due to the intervention of a divine creator. The argument is, of course, ridiculous on the face of it. Not only does it completely misunderstand the theory of evolution, in that life did not evolve from random chance, but instead non-random chance, where more useful inheritable traits in organisms that emerged from random mutations were naturally selected by the environment, and became more common over time as those organisms that possessed them had a greater opportunity for survival and reproduction. But it also completely overlooks the fundamental self-defeating double standard in this idea, which is that if beings of incredible complexity had to have been created by something much more complex than themselves like God, then there must have been an even greater and more complex deity who created their God, and an even greater and more complex deity that created that God, and so on and so forth. But I'm not really here to debunk the idea of intelligent design. It's been debunked so many times before and so easily that doing so here would be redundant. Instead, in this video, I'm going to be playing with the assumption that God did actually design life and human beings, and looking at how good of a job he did. I mean, I don't think we were crafted by a perfect deity, but many Christians do, so I think it's high time we held Yahweh's feet to the fire and see just how good of an inventor he really is. And this time, it's personal, because oh boy do I have a bone to pick with this creation my consciousness has been bottled up in. Now, I want to paint you all a picture of my life 3 years ago. I was an athlete. I ran and played tennis too. I was preparing to start soccer in my senior year of high school. I even had a successful performance running the Spartan race, which was 15 miles with rough terrain and grueling obstacles, and let me tell you, that was no easy task. But all that changed one fateful day. During soccer practice in the summer, I was doing a sprinting drill, and I was really going at it. It was the end of practice and I was exhausted, but I was determined to finish strong and run as fast as I was able to outperform the other kids. And that's when it happened. I took a wrong step and sprained my ankle, hard. It took a while to heal, but it certainly wasn't the most painful thing I've ever experienced. Obviously, I didn't stick with doing soccer senior year, but I still did tennis, I still ran after that, I still recovered, or so I thought. You see, in some ways, ankle sprains are even worse than broken bones, because the tendons do not heal easily, and after you injure the ankle once, it's always going to be vulnerable. The year of 2022 has been very challenging for me thus far, and that is because I've been dealing with chronic ankle instability. You see, in the beginning of the year, right when I had come back to school, I was on the way home from the train station. I was running back home, as I liked to get my exercise in when I could, and didn't like wasting time in getting somewhere. And I took a wrong step again, the same ankle, the exact same way as 2.5 years ago. This time, though, it was much more difficult to recover from. It took several months until I was actually able to walk safely again. And granted, some of that was my fault, as I overdid it initially, and got back up on my feet before the area was fully healed. But after some relapse, I got on my crutches and tried not to stress the area anymore. But then my left ankle started hurting, the interior of it rather than the outside, which was the sprained ankle area of my right ankle. It wasn't too bad, and my doctor gave me a brace for my right foot and said that I was good to walk again. But he was wrong, because my left ankle just kept hurting more and more, and then the inside of my right ankle, which again was the part I did not injure, started hurting as well, for no apparent reason. I was given a brace for my left ankle as well, but it just kept hurting, and it got to the point where I couldn't walk anymore without significant pain in both of my feet, once again in the areas I didn't originally injure. My feet also started blowing up like Pompeii when it got warmer out for seemingly no reason. I was freaking out because it had been months and I wasn't getting any better, and the pain just seemed to be spreading to more and more parts of my feet and ankles. It definitely made for a difficult semester. I'm still not fully sure what happened to me. I mean, the doctor said it was due to my feet being out of alignment and me not walking right. Eventually, with the help of arch support in my shoes, physical therapy, of which I had to perform about an hour of every day, and icing my ankles multiple times a day, I was able to recover and get better and walk again. So after 6 months, it finally seemed like all that mess was behind me. I sprained my ankle again. Yep, The same one, the same way. I just took a wrong step while running. See, I work at summer camp at my college and was out playing dodgeball with the kids when it happened. You want to know what the funny part is? I had been working in an athletics camp for 2 weeks before, where I participated in all kinds of sports with the kids, and had done a lot of strenuous physical activity for the whole day each day. And I was fine. The day I sprained my ankle was the last week of camp at recess, which lasted for 30 minutes. It only takes one wrong step. So now I'm on my ass again, just hoping that I have a smoother recovery this time. And I can't be the same person anymore. I used to be very physically capable, with my legs at least. I mean, I would run everywhere all the time. It was my thing. But now I know I can't run again, because if I do, I'm just going to end up spraining my ankle again when I take a wrong step, and I can't afford that. Every time I injure the same spot, it will just get more and more vulnerable. So even if it is years later and I haven't sprained it again, it's still going to be risky. And listen, I never thought I was going to be a professional athlete or anything. I have a future waiting for me in academics. But physical activity and fitness was still important to me, and now I can't keep up with it without risk of injuring myself. So I just have a question for God. What the fuck were you thinking designing human ankles? Why did you put so much pressure on such a tiny, vulnerable area? Why can missteps be so debilitating? Why do ankle sprains take so long to heal and never truly go back to being as strong as they were? This is a shit design if I ever saw one. And before anyone goes in the comments telling me that, well, of course you would suffer a ton of misfortune like that, God is punishing you for being an atheist. If you weren't such a blasphemer, all that stuff probably wouldn't have happened to you. And that's complete bullshit, because non-believers are hardly the only people suffering terrible bodily afflictions. My devout Christian grandmother has fake knees because hers stopped working properly when she was 35 years old. And I could go on and on listing all of the terrible things about the human body that make existence a living hell for so many people. Why do some people have molars that have to get removed or cause incredible pain? Why is the appendix liable to kill some people? Why do some people's brains decompose when they get older? Why do some people's bones decompose when they get older? Why do some people's hearts stop working? Why do so many people suffer from chronic back pain? Vertebra can literally just slip out of place sometimes. How about the fact that some people can die from eating nuts because their immune system doesn't function properly? Why do women need to shed their uterine lining every month? Why can childbirth be deadly? I'm not asking for immortality, but come on! God couldn't have better designed the human form to be able to make it through 80 years of life? The human body is incredibly impressive in some ways, but remarkably shitty in others, with some real glaring flaws. There are over 4,000 genetic diseases that affect people. How is that intelligent design? But our bodies, and the bodies of animals, are exactly what one would expect to see from natural selection. The process selects for traits that allow a species to survive and reproduce better in the environment, but it's not perfect. No intelligent being looked at whales and said, you know what, I think those creatures need leg bones. Because with an intelligent designer, you can just go in and rework the creation to make it as efficient and sensible as possible for its function. But natural selection doesn't work like that. It's funny that people who believe in intelligent design often cite the eye as an example of God's fingerprint. The human eye is so incredibly complex that it could not have possibly come about except through an intelligent creator. I'm just going to quote from author Nathan Lentz in a great article I have linked in the description for a bit. The human eye is a well-tread example of how evolution can produce a clunky design even when the result is a well-performing anatomical product. The human eye is indeed a marvel, but if it were to be designed from scratch, it's hard to imagine it would look anything like it does. Inside the human eye is the long legacy of how light sensing slowly and incrementally developed in the animal lineage. It's true that the eye won't function if you remove any one part, but evolution doesn't work by adding individual, fully formed parts to a pre-existing structure. The entire eye evolves as a unit. The defect in the myopic eye is not caused by injury or overuse. It is simply too long. Images focus sharply before they reach the end of the eye and then fall out of focus again as they finally land on the retina. It's bad design, plain and simple. Of course, the opposite problem, farsightedness, exists as well and comes in two forms, hyperopia and presbyopia. Hyperopic eyes are built too short and the light fails to focus before hitting the retina, another example of poor construction. The superiority of the bird eye shows that whatever designed the human eye, be it nature or deity, is capable of producing eyes that are much better than the human eye. The question of why nature didn't provide humans with better eyes is easily answered by evolutionary theory. It wasn't strongly selected for. Alternatively, why an intelligent designer would deny his favorite creatures the excellent vision that he provided lowly birds is quite a mystery. Now on to the physical design of the eye. One of the all-time most famous examples of quirky designs in nature is the vertebrate retina. The photoreceptor cells of the retina appear to be placed backward, with the wiring facing the light and the photoreceptor facing inward. A photoreceptor cell looks something like a microphone. The hot end has the sound receiver, and the other end terminates with the cable that carries the signal off to the amplifier. The human retina, located at the back of the eyeball, is designed such that all of the little microphones are facing the wrong way. The side with the cable faces forwards. This is not an optimal design for obvious reasons. The photons of light must travel around the bulk of the photoreceptor cell in order to hit the receiver tucked in the back. But it's as if you were speaking into the wrong end of a microphone. It can still work, provided that you turn the sensitivity of the microphone way up and you speak loudly. To date, there are no working hypotheses about why the vertebrate retina is wired in backwards. It seems to have been a random development that then stuck, because a correction of that magnitude would be very difficult to pull off with random mutations. Nevertheless, there are many conceivable fixes for the blind spot in the human retina, backwards though it is. Thus, the optic discs and accompanying blind spot are an example of poor design in all vertebrates, including humans. The human body is an incredible thing that human beings are not capable of creating from scratch. But God is supposed to be all-powerful, all-knowing. If God did intelligently design humans, then to be perfectly honest, I would have to give him a barely passing grade of C-. If this is your best work, Yahweh, then you have some self-improvement to work on. Well, now, proponents of intelligent design will say, of course human bodies have all these issues. We live in a fallen world. Our bodies used to be perfect in the Garden of Eden, but due to the original sin of Adam and Eve, God cursed human beings and all the other animals with suffering and hardship. Okay then, fair enough. But, well, to me, this just sounds like Christians trying to have their cake and eat it too. So your argument is that the design of human beings, as well as animals and other organisms, is shitty on purpose because we live in a fallen world and God is punishing us for the sins of our ancestors. Well, if that's the case, then you shouldn't expect people like me to see the shitty design God gave me as evidence of divine creation. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that the good aspects of the design of living creatures should be evidence of God's involvement, and then also say that the bad aspects of the design of living creatures are also evidence of God's involvement. Pick one. I'm sorry, but I'm just having a lot of fucking trouble feeling God's influence on my body with a right ankle injury that's going to affect me for the rest of my life. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Just had to rant about this topic for a bit. This has been The Skeptical Skeptic. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, remember, be compassionate, be understanding, but most importantly, never stop questioning. Bye.